Hey, thanks for joining me. It's really good to be with you today. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about how, as Catholics, for us, the law is beautiful. You know, you hear it sometimes people say, even Catholics can say, gosh, you know, the church is all about rules, or Christianity is all about rules. And, you know, sometimes we can just say, well, that's just not true. We're about so much more than that. We're about relationship with God. You know, that is true. But, you know, as Catholics, we would never just say it's like either relationship with God or the law. In fact, there's such a deeper way to look at it, which is very helpful, especially if we're struggling to live the beautiful law or laws that the church gives us. So here's one way to get at it. I love this line from the prophet Isaiah. It's in chapter 48. Let me just read it to you and I'll just say a word about it. Isaiah says this. Actually, it's the Lord speaking through the prophet Isaiah. He says, I, the Lord your God, teach you what is for your good and lead you on the way you should go. Beautiful. So there's the God of Israel, like the lawgiver from Mount Sinai, right? Who gives the laws of how God should be worshipped, what should be believed, and how the people of God should live their lives. He gives these laws not for himself, he needs nothing, but for their good. Now, when I say the law here for us as Catholics, I'm not just talking about speed limits or tax laws or something like that. Because with respect to those laws, to some degree, it's true. You could say, as those laws get bigger, my freedom gets a little smaller. And if I want my freedom to be bigger, I want less laws. But in terms of the law of God, the law manifest in our faith, manifest by Christ, given to us by Him and through the teaching of the church, it's just a different game being played. Maybe you can call it like the law of freedom, the law of maybe freedom of excellence. That's an expression that some theologians use. What it means is the law is not a restriction on my freedom. The law is a path. It's a pathway in which I'm invited to walk, and walking that path is for my good. It will make me happy. I think this is especially helpful for us, in concrete things in our lives. Maybe it's the laws of marriage, right? Those are not impositions to make marriage more difficult. It's for the disciplining of desire so that married love can grow and become stronger and more purified. Think of the laws in my life as a priest, right? I became a priest, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm so happy, but then all of a sudden there's these laws, right? I have to pray 5 times a day. I have to live with a certain simplicity. I have to conform my life to Christ, celebrate the sacraments the way the church wants. Well, sometimes those feel like really, really difficult. But the response, I think, is the spirit of that you see in Isaiah, which is, Lord, this is for my good. This is going to make me happy because it will conform me to what I'm made for, which is finally love. Let me take it one step further. And I'll invoke our patron, St. Thomas Aquinas. He said, in the New Testament, there's a lex inditus, which is given. I'm using his Latin there. Lex inditus. Lex means law. Inditus, it's a little hard to translate, but it means like given in, inwardly bestowed. There's an inward law. As we can sometimes feel the law as an imposition from the outside, gosh, the demands of Christ, the demands of the church, the demands of the path of life that God has called me on are just so hard and crushing. But there's the law of the Spirit. The law of the Holy Spirit is the inwardly given law, which gives me courage and strength to follow the demands of love. We say that the law of love inculcates in us a kind of virtue of love. And, Thomas Aquinas knew so well that when you have a virtue, it makes following the law easy and joyful and prompt, right? If you really love someone, loving them well, in the measure that you love them, becomes easy and joyful and prompt. Here's the journey of Christian life is growing in that. But I think we can resist confidently thinking that the law of God, the law of Christ, is this heavy, crushing burden, and I'm always looking for the way to kind of get around it or just to do the bare minimum, But the lex inditus, the law of the Holy Spirit, never says, what can I get by on in terms of loving you? What can I get by with? What's the minimum I can eke by in life with loving God and loving my neighbor, loving myself? Forget that. That's not the game the Lord wants to play. He wants us to play the game of the law of freedom, the law of the freedom of excellence, the excellence for which we're made, the law of love. When you struggle with the demands of love, however you struggle with it, I would encourage you to pray in the words of the psalmist, Lord, I love your commands. Lord, I love your commands. Lord, I love your commands because they're for my good. And in fact, they're for the good of all those around me too. So I hope that helps. God bless you.